Hi, so this video is sort of an appendix for my What If I Was Showrunner series, specifically for Season C, which is why this video came out alongside it. However, this video is very standalone. You do not need to watch my series at all in order to actually understand this, as this is more a concept for an OC Dalek Empire design, color schemes video in general, and what I would do if I had control of what the Daleks could look like. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this really nerdy video about differently colored pepper pots. So let's just start off with the basic Dalek design, the Dalek Units. So as for what model, you might as well use the new series models and just repaint them. That would be my idea, but if I could remodel them, I would make them have a more classic appearance, hence why I used a more classic design on Pit Crew. And speaking of Pit Crew, you can make your own in Pit Crew. There's a link in description, and share your OCs down below, possibly link to them. Now, the Dalek unit would be your typical Dalek, your normal Dalek within the Dalek Empire, and it would just be doing normal Dalek things. I decided to base it off of the 60s Dalek design, because that's probably one of my favourite Dalek designs as a whole, and it makes sense going back to their roots. And these Daleks, just in terms of behaviour, would be more like them. Because even though they do conquer, you more so see them being efficient rather than being invasion-y. So, yeah. The unit's leader has a black dome, and this will be a common theme. Daleks with who are in charge of a group of Daleks tend to have black domes. They're not necessarily higher ranks, but they are the ones that tend to be in charge, and this is a reference to, again, 62 Daleks that had black domes. You can also see that in the parting of the ways, as the ones near the Dalek Emperor tend to have that, but because that was a reference to Evil of the Daleks, where that was the case. Now, the reason I'm calling these Dalek units is because it feels very much inhuman, and they're not meant to be human. They're very much mechanically minded. They're very much distant from the idea of treating life with respect. They do treat Dalek life with respect because that's the only life they don't kill. They don't disrespect Daleks, they just wouldn't call each other by humane things. It's very scientific, it's very unemotional. They are called units. But just because you tend to see Daleks in more efficient, working within the Empire type roles, doesn't mean to say there aren't any Daleks that do the invading. So this is the Dalek Warrior design. Now, it's clearly based on the Time War Dalek design, because they are the most successful warriors in my opinion. The reason why I'm basing a lot of these colour schemes on older colour schemes is because I want to give Daleks this trait that hasn't really been given to them before, and that's pride. They're proud of their heritage, which is a trait that I find annoying among British nationalists, and just nationalists as a whole, and seeing as how Daleks are based off a specific kind of nationalist who were kind of evil and fascist, I think it would make sense that they would be proud of the good parts of their heritage, or what they perceive to be good. So they would base it off that. It's a trait that I hate in people, and therefore it would make us hate the Daleks more, but it would also be nice fan service as well, so it's a win-win in my opinion. Warrior leaders are the same kind of deal with the unit leaders, except they'd be the leader of warrior squadrons. In a way, it's kind of like a captain in a human army. Now, special weapons Daleks would be part of the warrior class and no others. So, yes, they would appear, but only in that sort of colour scheme. Maybe rare instances of others, but pretty much just this one. Now, in order to find planets to invade, you would need a Reconnaissance Scout. Now, the Dalek we saw in Resolution was a Reconnaissance Scout, and I think that's a really good idea, and yep, I'm stealing it. However, the official casing it would have would actually be kind of different. I'm showing a camo type design. The reason why this Dalek is specifically like camo is because the color scheme would change depending on which planet it's invading. Because we see it doing a recon mission for Earth, it's more earthy color schemes, so green and brown. But if it was on like Thoros Beta, it would be like basically a trans pride Dalek. I like to imagine that it basically scans the planet before it lands, and then its color scheme blends in. Because Daleks, as much as I think they're really scientific and have made many advancements, I don't think they'd have the right technology to go invisible, because if they did, they'd be unstoppable, so I kind of need to nerf them in that regard, so camouflage is the next best thing. Because Reconnaissance Scouts are meant to be undetectable, but they still have their weapons, because if they are detected, they need to defend themselves. When it comes to invading, Daleks need a strategy. So the Strategists are blue and silver like color scheme. Now, you could also say this is a reference to Victory of the Daleks. This wasn't my intention when I designed this many months ago. It is literally just because I thought this design looked cool, but it also feels like it works with a Strategist. The reason why I feel like this stuck with Strategist is because of the next Dalek design I will talk about, but I think blue really works for Strategists, and in a way it is an inversion of the usual Dalek color scheme as well, so I think there's a lot of reasons why this works. So, speaking about the reason why I kept this, the Dalek Time Strategist is from Big Finish, specifically in their Time War audios. The Dalek Time Controller was its predecessor, but I would bring back the Dalek Time Strategist, same design and everything, or similar design rather, as I think this would be useful. There'd probably only be one in the Empire, as we probably wouldn't want to nerf them, but also the Dalek Time Strategist could be very well insane, so having multiple Daleks that can see through time would not be good. But the Dalek Time Strategist is useful because it can see through all of time, so therefore can make good strategies. Another Dalek that can see through time, which I symbolise through having a purple eye stalk, is the Dalek Historian. This started out as me wanting a pink Dalek design, but I thought a mostly black with pink highlights actually worked better. These would be less insane, as they'd have less mental capacity for actual individuality, even less than a normal Dalek. These Daleks would have the ability to see through time, but mostly to, say, events, and they'd have access to entire Dalek history in terms of a database. Not only do they see through all of Dalek history, but they also see through their enemy's history, which is useful for the other strategists as well. But yeah, I think this is a cool idea that I came up with, and it's a cool new rank. Another cool new rank that I actually came up with, which isn't entirely new, but because of how much I'm expanding upon it, it's practically new, and they've got a drastically new design compared to the rest of them, that being the Dalek Scientific Division. Now, it would make sense why they'd have a science division, as the Khaleds, which they evolved from, also had a scientific division, and also Dalek scientists makes sense. Now, the black and white colour scheme that I have, or the black and silver colour scheme if you want to get a bit nitpicky, actually comes from the Khaled Scientific Division. I want to base it off that, again, because Daleks would be proud of their heritage, and yeah, I think this is a really cool reference that I had here, and yeah. The chief scientists, seeing as how the rest of the scientific division are black, having a black dome wouldn't distinguish them enough. So I decided to give them gold highlights instead of silver, because gold is better than silver in society, and I guess the Daleks would probably think that too. So therefore, it would signify power. So that's why that's used in lieu of a black dome. It's a cool design. I'm surprised it's not really been done before. Another Dalek from Big Finish that I'd bring back is the Dalek Overseer. Now, the Overseer is more so a Dalek that would oversee experiments as opposed to scientific research as a whole. Again, only one in the Empire, because it would be some grotesque monster. in the eyes of the Daleks, because it itself is a grotesque monster. It's probably my favourite individual Dalek Big Finish ever introduced in the story Planet of the Ogrons, which incidentally is my favourite 8th Doctor Time War story, so I recommend checking it out in the 8th Doctor Time War Volume 2 box set. But yeah, this is a really cool idea, and I would want to bring it to screen if possible. So I mentioned that some Daleks would only have one in the Empire, but before I get to these singular Daleks, there's one more Dalek class that I would have, and that is the Dalek Guards. Now, I just wanted a purple Dalek design. I tried having a UKIP-inspired Dalek design, and I really liked how it turned out. You can tell my political opinions based on, would I use this party's colour scheme as a Dalek, and it works. Originally I was going to have this be the Chief Scientist colour scheme, but I didn't think it worked. But on reflection, it doesn't make as much sense, so therefore I'm using it for the Guard. Now, the reason why it has a green glowing eye is for the stupidest of reasons. Now, as much as I would want to take the Daleks seriously, there is an inherent goofiness in the Daleks, and this wouldn't help. The reason why I decided it would have a green eye is because of night vision. Would the Daleks already have night vision? Probably. My design, my rules. I just wanted to have that because it's a little bit goofy, it's a little bit funny, but I don't really care. They'd have enhanced vision anyway to make sure they were more vigilant. They might not even have an eye stalk, come to think of it. They could just have like a dome. They could just have what the Dalek Emperor from Remembrance of the Daleks had. I think a Dalek Guard is an important rank to have, and also, it plays an important part in my Season C video, which I recommend you check out. Let's just say it's involved in the cliffhanger in the Dalek story that season. The first of these solitary Daleks that I'm going to talk about is actually an important part in the story Purity of the Daleks in my Season C video, and that is the Dalek Eternal. Now, this Dalek is very much based on the Victory of the Daleks Dalek that we saw. Same sort of colours and everything. Not the same model, but the same sort of colour scheme. But I might make it more orangey yellow, maybe not like a goldy colour. It's because a Dalek later on is going to have gold plating. The role the Dalek Eternal would have in my OC Dalek Empire, as I stated in my Season C video, but I'm going to reiterate here, is that it would be focusing on how to make the Daleks more pure. As the more pure the Daleks would be, the longer they would last, in theory. Hence why it's called the Dalek Eternal. The fact that we never got expansion on this Dalek specifically, let alone the rest of the Paradigm Daleks, is a crime, and as much as people didn't like the designs, which I do, but there are issues with them in Victory of the Daleks that I feel like they literally could have fixed by giving them a slightly different coat of paint, which they gave in Asylum of the Daleks. I think I could rectify that. The next of the solitary Daleks is the Dalek Supreme. I think the Dalek Supreme should be red, because I think, apart from the Emperor, this is the most important rank of Dalek. Would there be one in the Empire? Probably not. There would probably be one per sector, as, you know, there would need to be a chief more than just the Emperor. But this is still a fairly unique Dalek rank-wise. Now, the reason I went for red isn't because of the Stolen Earth, although the Stolen Earth's Supreme Dalek is one of my favourite Dalek designs. It's actually based on the Dalek sort of canon outside of Doctor Who in the 60s, because Dalek Mania was a thing, and Terry Nation tried to separate the Daleks in Doctor Who from the Daleks in their own sort of spin-off media by having them be in their different unique colours, like we saw in the Cushing films. Colourful Daleks, especially the red Dalek, seems sort of mythological to me as a Doctor Who fan, and the fact that that was sort of referenced in the Stolen Earth's Dalek design was amazing. So I would have it be red. The silvery design just is a nice contrast with the red. Red and gold I do like with the Supreme Dalek, so that could also be used. Also, the sort of metal things on its grill I would also want, but possibly repainted to be silver as opposed to gold, but I don't really care. The main thing is that it's red, because I think red Dalek should be rare, mythological, and that's exactly what I'd want for the Supreme. And finally we have the Emperor. Now the Emperor's design would be a sort of combination of the Parting of the Ways design, because I think it's iconic, and I think it's it being huge and part of the set referencing Evil of the Daleks is amazing. I would also have its primary design inspiration, like its shape and its just the way it looks, be based on Evil of the Daleks. So I think having a combination would be nice. I also think having it be completely made out of gold, but have it be in a dimly lit room, because I think overlit gold could look rubbish, would be amazing. But yeah, this would be an amazing Dalek design, and I want it. So yeah, that was the video. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of nerdiness. If you want to check out What If I Was Showrunner Season C, or just the general series as a whole, you can watch that too. Link will be in the description. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you in my next upload. Take care now.